It was Thursday morning. Richard got up early to go for his daily run. Kathy rolled over in the bed. It felt snug and warm, but as she woke, noticed the big space Richard had left behind. She reached around to feel him, but he wasn't there. Richard had just disappeared out of the house for his jog. She rose and got dressed slowly, looking in the mirror at herself as she did so. Kathy was proud of her figure and loved to see herself cover it up. She took a purple t-shirt out of the chest of drawers. She returned to the mirror to slowly put her on herself, and she did so slowly and sensually, with no bra on underneath. She could see her own nipples poking through the cloth. She moved closer to the mirror, and as she studied her legs and thighs, she went back to the chest of drawers, took out some white shorts, came back to the mirror carrying them, and then watched herself. She slowly slid them up herself. Richard was Kathy's one and only love, so this would be nice for Richard when he returned from his run. Kathy would spend as much time as she could with him while he was at home. The sexual appetite never waned. He would need a shower, and Kathy would join him, and when he got back, the less he had to take off, the better for them both. Kathy finished dressing, and she walked downstairs to prepare some breakfast. While Richard was out jogging, he decided to take a shortcut through the Carmelian Park. He was playing music for his portable player, and his running pace matched the rhythm. He continued his run along the main road and down the palm lane to the large woods at the bottom. He turned into the woods and ran along the footpath. Took the left fork in the path, and his pace was starting to slow. Ran down the steep path towards the stream. To his left, a figure dressed in a shiny black coat flashed through the trees, sprinting very rapidly, then disappeared again. Richard felt unnerved for a second, but brushed off after a couple of paces. His run took him parallel to the paintball centre, and again, this time to his right, a black-coated figure flashed through the fir trees. This time he did stop running and started walking over to what he'd just seen. He was breathing heavily, and because of this, he didn't hear somebody coming up behind him. He felt a heavy blow to the back of his head and blacked out completely. Richard came to and noticed he was inside the paintball zone in one of the storage huts. His head was pounding from the blow he'd just received. Straight away, though, he knew he was tied up with something, and just as he was getting his bearings, a voice came from a tape recording. A voice he'd never heard before. "Good morning, Ricky," it began. "As you know, you are tied to a chair. As a kid, this is your favorite place to go. Your legs and ankles are lashed together and your body is bound tightly." The figure that he had just seen in the woods stood with his arms folded, leaning against the bolted door. "Tied between your legs and feet is a double-barreled shotgun. This is pointing at your face. The gun is primed and ready to fire, so should you move your legs suddenly, string will pull the trigger and the gun will fire. It will shoot you straight in the face." The voice paused for a second. Richard kept his legs still as he could. The figure moved from the door and sat on the barrel opposite Richard. "Just for good measure, your arms are tied behind you, and there's a crossbow secured to the floor. This is pointing up to the back of your head, and the bolt is set to fire too. If you are tempted to move your arms, the crossbow will fire, the bolt will go into your head, and once again you will probably die." The tightness of the binds on Richard's arms made him realize how serious his aggressor was. "This is how it is, Ricky. Whether you awake and you make sudden movements, either weapon will kill you. Should you fall asleep and perhaps relax, the weapons will fire. And of course, same outcome. Such dilemmas to be in, hey, Ricky?" "Such dilemmas to be in, hey, Ricky, but if you feel like staying still, then you'll just have to starve to death. See how long it is before someone notices you're missing. How's your luck?" The voice had ended, and the figure got up from the barrel, unbolted the door, and as it left, wedged something against the outside. Richard could hear the figure walking away, and he sat still for a moment. Thought of Kathy briefly, the day that he met back in the first year at school. This made him feel better about things for a brief while. He was the first person she ever kissed, and the only person he ever had sex with. It was a memory of their first time together, and she was so loving and exactly what he liked. They had spent so many years together and hardly ever row, and they had mild disagreements, but nothing ever made them split up. Richard's life was never complicated, and he always had a carefree attitude. This situation was nothing compared to what he'd been involved in previously. He contemplated his life so far and came to the conclusion he'd been enriched by his love for Kathy and her love for him. Thought of her left back behind when he was gone. Thought of the career path he had chosen. In the army, he fought for his country, places like Kosovo, Iraq, and Afghanistan. Never got caught out, wounded, or became a prisoner. For his heroics, though, rose to the rank of major. He always knew he'd die before he was 50, though, because a psychic medium told him that once. Richard came to the conclusion that he was going to die here and now, and he wanted the quickest exit he could get. He made up his mind, and with one swift movement pulled his arms and legs together. As this happened, the shotgun and crossbow fired together. Richard's face was ripped apart by the blast from the shotgun. Force of the kickback had dislocated his knees and shattered both ankles. Crossbow bolt fired upwards and pierced the back of Richard's head, going straight through into his brain. This made Richard grunt as it entered, and he felt no pain. The shotgun had thrown Richard backwards onto the floor, and the chair was smashed to pieces, and he just lay still. Richard Joyner died instantly. That ends chapter 3. Hope you enjoyed what I've read so far, and it's whet your appetite for more. This is Reed Lovac signing off for the last time, and once again, keep the faith.